So the system that we've been working on and we're going to demo today is the monitoring and evaluation system, which we're calling MERS, MERS at the moment. So what this aims to do is to bring a very kind of basic technology level over the top of what's already existing in the paper-based system. So we don't want to change processes too dramatically. We want the workshops to still run in a very similar way so that everything goes smoothly, and the technology just tries to replace some of the things that the paper is doing, or just happen alongside the paper-based system that is already there. So we should be able to get reports from using the technology that should help us understand how many people are processed on each day, what the reasons are that people did or didn't make it through the process, and what the eventual outcome for the workshop participants are. And again, we've been keeping in mind that this needs to be completely anonymous and no personal information should be stored. And all the time there will be a paper backup, so that if the technology part doesn't work for any reason, we've still got the paper version there. And it facilitates the referral to the partner agencies after the workshops, so that as well as the paper, they'll also get referred to the clients through the technology. So in these last 3 iterations, 6 to 8, we've been building something that allows you to set up a workshop, collect the data on the day at the workshop, and create some initial reports from the data. And there have been a few additions to the normal workshop process. So at the moment there is a check-in station at the workshop, so we also need to have a check-out station for this technology to work. And all participants will receive a unique ID, so even if they come and they straight away realise they haven't got the right documents, they should check out, and we should record that in the system so that we know that they've been and not been able to proceed. And there's new intake sheets which look like this. So these have been modified to work with the technology that we've been creating. So we want to demo how you would collect data at the workshop, how the reports work, how you close a workshop and create the clients, which are then referred to the agencies, and how you add users to the system so that other agencies can use the system. Sarah, how are you getting on with your reboot?
I just have to get back on Hangouts, which is taking a couple of minutes, but everything's up and running apart from that. So I was going to show one of the things to talk through was the fact that we've redone the intake forms as part of this change. So I didn't know if I wanted to hand over to Monica temporarily to talk about that. That's on the slide before.
Yeah. Okay, I will change that slide.
Turn off my mute. So taking into account the thin layer of technology that we are adding to our system in order to capture all of the pertinent data, I actually revised the intake. This is the DACA intake, and I've also revised the citizenship intake. And as you will see, it lists the different applications that are associated with that type of benefit or workshop. So for like the DACA is the I-821D, the I-765, I-765WS, and the G-1145. As a person goes through the process, staff members will be able to determine whether they are eligible and if the application has been completed, and that'll be marked with a green dot. For a yellow dot, that means that they will need some form of follow-up, and that is classified through missing documents, it needs to wait, is a complicated case and goes directly to a partner agency, or for some reason needed to leave the event at that time. we find that most people that come to our workshops, at times they are limited in time, and sometimes they need to leave in order to go to work. So I added that line item in order to accommodate that. And if a person is deemed ineligible or is complicated, we can actually identify that as well by a red dot. With regards to the event itself, we have the different stations. And for DACA, we will have a registration station, a screening done by, or the screening station, and we will be able to enable the staff member or volunteer to write their name once that station has been completed, as well as with the application area, the document prep area, the legal review, and then we will be able to check out the checkout line item. Sorry for all the words. But as you will notice at the very top, I clearly identified the type of workshop that it is and the intake, and you will also see the unique user ID. The program will be able to enter the type of workshop, which is the DACA. The GLHS stands for James Lick High School, and the 0926 to 2015, that is the actual date of the event. So when we look into like the different files that are available, we'll be able to identify which event it belongs to clearly and quickly. As we move through the workshop, we'll be able to add the numbers. Like for the citizenship workshop in Redwood City, Cheryl has determined that we will only be able to assist 300 participants, so the intakes will be manually numbered 1 through 300 and will be entered into the system accordingly. And that's just giving you a little rundown on what's been done on the intakes and how we've modified the way we do things.
Thanks, Monica. That was excellent time killing. I'm now ready.
Awesome.
Okay, so should I go ahead, Ellie? Is that right?
Yep, I can see your screen.
Excellent. So the first thing I thought I would show is just to sort of get right down into the weeds of what we think is important, and so it's actually doing the data collection that'll let us drive all this monitoring and evaluation. So I have three sort of users that we're going to be working with today, and the first one that you can see is a user who's a volunteer. And sorry, I've got lots of screens open. This user who's a volunteer, imagine that we're imagining that they're going to be on their phone at the workshop. And so they might have been assigned to be on the check-in or the checkout station. And this is a citizenship workshop in Oakland, and this is a volunteer who's got permission to check in and check out people. So we'll just start to show you what the basic sort of check-in screen looks like. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to be standing in the line for people who pre-registered, and they're going to be checking in pre-registered people. So this person here, as Monica already showed you the intake form, their ID is number 16. They don't have to fill in the whole prefix. They just fill in their number for the day. On a screen, this is actually you can actually swipe on a phone. You can sort of swipe across here, and they answer that question. How did they hear about us? So in this case, let's say they heard by flyer, and then we have a confirmation page at the end where you just check the data, and we click OK, and that's great. And back, and they can continue checking in more pre-registered people, and they can just go and go and go and go. So now let's just say that somebody happened to walk into the line, and they were in the pre-registered line, but they actually were a walk-in. So we can nip back to the home page and check in a walk-in person. And again, it's a similar kind of, it's the same screen. This is person 17. Oh, so what happened there was I accidentally typed in 18. And it's telling us that the IDs didn't match. So this page has a bunch of validation built in to try and make sure that we reduce our errors as we enter data. Again, this person came via flyer, and yes, that's great. So we click OK. So now, just to show you the sort of the end of the cycle, we talked about how we need to have a checkout station, and the reason we want to have a checkout station is we want to know one of the things that we identified in the discovery workshop is that a lot of people are kind of lost to the system, and they get lost in a bunch of different ways. They get lost because maybe they get turned away straight away because they didn't have their documents with them. They maybe get lost because they sort of walked off in the middle of the workshop. Another thing is, like, my understanding is that as citizenship workshops, for example, you collect all the applications that are complete, but like, what happens to people who don't have like a green status? And so what we want to do is have this checkout station so we can start documenting and understanding where are all the different people that come to us, what are their statuses when they leave the workshop, and what happened to them. So, well, Monica, could you mute? Sorry, getting a lot of rattling from you. So we're just going to check out a person, and this is going to be person 16 again. They what was the last station that they were at? So they were last at, let's say, legal review. Let's say this went well. They were last at legal review, and their application was complete. It all went well. And their paperwork is going to, let's say, IIBA. So one of the other sort of small tweaks that we'd like to make to the process is that, and one of the ways this system works is that when we create a client in the system, that client will always have an agency owner. Will always, and what that really means is that's where that person's paperwork is. And then as that client checks out of a workshop and they, you know, and the volunteer is helping them at checkout with this screen, they'll say, your paperwork has gone to, let's say, IIBA. You know, if you have any follow-up questions or whatever, that's where you can follow up. And different workshops will have their own different rules for how they're assigning people. Some workshops, they'll all go to one agency. Some workshops, they might be split between different agencies. But this is going to allow us to start tracking where different people have gone over the course of a workshop. And finally, we have our checkout confirmation screen, which is a little bit more interesting. It gives us a color code on their status. It reviews all the information that we've just filled in. And once again, we can hit submit, and the application is submit, and the checkout is being submitted, and then we can keep collecting checkouts. So now I'm going to nip back, and I'm going to be, hopefully you can see a new window appear. Can somebody say if they're seeing a new grey window?
Not yet.
Not yet. Fingers crossed my internet hasn't died on me again.
I see your browser.
Yes. Excellent. Okay. So now I'm logged into the back-end system of MERS, which is what any agency member or admin of the system will be looking at. And I'm on the screen that is for this citizenship workshop that we've just been talking about. And here's the home page. Is it legible on your screens?
Just about.
Just about. Well, there's some information down here that is all about who are the different participating agencies, who are the volunteers that are participating on the day to collect data, how many numbers of people were pre-registered. That would be information that would be coming in from the phone system. What are the different workshop stations and so on. We can also see that there's a collect tab, and the collect tab, I think that hasn't popped up for you yet, but hopefully will in a minute, is where we have information about the different, about the data collection that's happening. So hopefully you can see that now. And that again lists the participating agencies, it lists the volunteers, it gives a link to the collect system, and it has a little summary here that says 17 check-ins and 16 checkouts have been collected so far. So this is sort of updating live as the workshop's in progress. Not everybody can see this tab. Only members of participating agencies would be able to actually see this tab. But anybody who is in the network, who has access to the system, would be able to see this report tab that I'm now on. And this report tab is updating live from the check-ins and check-outs that are going on at a workshop. So on the left here we have a summary report. You can see the number of check-ins that have happened, the number of check-outs that have happened, and so we can come up with, and it's a very crude metric of how many people we think are still in process. We have an appointment report that's saying, well, how many of those that pre-registered attended, and so on. What are the checkout points? What were the last points where people checked out? How did they hear about us? The outreach report, and so on and so forth. So let's just assume that now it's the end of the day, and it's time to close the workshop. And we've done our data collection in a way that is aimed to try and minimize disruption to the workshop. So data collection will be very, very fast, sort of on the day, in the moment, so clients won't be stuck waiting for the computer system to work. But that means that it's a bit tolerant of errors. So at the end of the day, we then have to go and close a workshop. And when we close the workshop, that's when we actually create clients from the data that we've collected during the day. So if I go to our close tab, and again, only permissioned people can come to this screen. We can see all the check-ins and all of the checkouts that have happened for that day. My eager eyes, not that I set this data up ahead of time at all, are spotting that there are 2 check-ins with the ID 11. That's obviously a mistake. There shouldn't be. They should always be unique. But that means probably somebody just mistyped. But the system, when you're doing the check-in and check-out on the phone system, it doesn't prevent you from entering, let's say, a duplicate ID. And there's good reasons for that we can come back to later if you're interested. But it does mean that we won't be able to create a client record for number 11. But for all of the ones that do match, let's say, look, we've got check-in 1 and check-out 1 down here, we should be able to create client records. So we hit this button called Close Workshop. So I'm hitting that now, and now it's saying that it's showing me this information. It's saying that some clients were created, and I can see them on the clients page, but there were some what they call orphaned check-ins and checkouts, and so that would be where we would you'd want to go back and have a look at the paperwork and figure out what happened. It should be fairly obvious. We've got 2 11 check-ins, and then 1 11 and 1 12 checkouts. So clearly there was just a data entry mistake on check-in, and it should be relatively easy to resolve. So now we've done the close and the clients have been created, we can go up to the clients tab up here, and I should be able to see all the clients that I just made, but am I doing the wrong thing? Sorry, hang on. I can see that, but I just need to go to another screen, so I'll show you that in a second. But before I go to that, I'll show you the reports, the report tab about the clients. And so there's one more tab here that we haven't looked at yet, which is only available after a workshop has been closed, and that's the clients tab. And so in here we can see a list of all of the clients that have been created for a particular workshop. They're all down here, or we can see them by the agency that they were referred to. So in this case, CET got 3 clients, IIBA got 7 clients, Oakland Associates, which is the sort of fictional organization I made, got 2, and so on. And so this would, the use case for this screen is that at the end of the day, all of the paperwork that was going off to different agencies would all be in envelopes, and then hopefully each agency would review the list in the system compared to the list of the paperwork they got, and they would be able to, you know, confirm that they received the right amount of paperwork that they were expecting. So that is the client screen. So I think I'm going to take a quick pause there, because we've had a look at data collection and the sort of meat of all of the reporting. So we can take a pause there for some Q&A, and then after that I'll show you some of the more administrative features in the system. Any questions?
So I have a question, but it's probably more for Monica and not the system really. So for us to collect the information at checkout, does that mean the intakes are surrendered at the checkout station? Because usually clients leave them at legal review. So we're changing the process now, and everybody just brings them to the checkout station.
Yes, that is a modification that we'll need to discuss, and I haven't been able to bring that up into the planning meetings yet. But essentially, yes, we will be directing the individuals over to the checkout station. We will have all of the documents, like for follow-up appointments, referral sheets, at the checkout station. For the NAC event that's going to be happening in Redwood City, we are sticking with the same kind of format for now. And those intakes will be collected at pre-screening and at legal review.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other questions? I think we're good, Sarah.
Okay, cool. So so now I'm going to just sort of show you the administrative side of things. So there's basically three kinds of users in the system at the moment, and we've already been having some conversations with Monica about how we might want to make that even more sophisticated. But we really wanted to just sort of get cracking with building a system that could actually work, and we could get real feedback from a workshop as to, like, you know, what worked well and what didn't. So it's a bit crude at the moment, but it should hopefully serve our needs for the short term. So the three levels of permissions are firstly a volunteer, and a volunteer basically can't do anything except collect data, and they can only collect data at a workshop that they've been assigned to. The second level of permission is an agency member. So that's almost all the people on the call would be part of an agency. And an agency is able to, an agency member is able to see all of the workshops that are in the system, no matter who created them, but they might only be able to see a subset of information. So if I click on, I think this one, yeah, so I've clicked on the Siren workshop, but I work for Oakland Associates. So what I can see is I can see the detail, I can see the check-in and check-out reports and some of the client reports, but I can't do anything with that workshop. I can't edit it, I can't change it. But maybe seeing some of those stats would actually be useful. So I am allowed to see some information about other workshops that people have held, but nothing else. I can create my own workshops, and when I create my own workshops, I have the ability to manage them, to add other agencies to them, and so on. I can also create users on the system that either belong to my agency or that are volunteers. And last but not least, there are admins, and admins can do everything. They can see all of the clients in the whole system. So I'm looking at the clients tab now. This is a browser where I'm logged in as admin. I can see all of the clients and all of the different owners that they've been assigned to, whereas as an agency member, I would only see the ones that were assigned to me. I can see and edit and edit everybody's workshops. And in addition, I can, in particular, I can see and edit partner agencies. And so only an admin can add and edit partner agencies. I think that this sort of, I don't think it's worth digging into it too deeply, because it's one of those things that's probably going to be more obvious when you start to play with it a bit. But so for now, what I'm going to show you is how, as an agency member, you would add your own workshop. So if I click on the workshops tab at the top, I get the list of workshops, and I can go and see information about them. Or I can click on this workshop admin button. When I click on the workshop admin button, I'm given the option to add a workshop. There may also be some workshops down here that I can edit, but for now I don't have any that I can edit, because there aren't any that are open and that I created. So I'm going to add a new workshop, and we're just going to call it oops, excuse me, we're going to call it demo, prefix demo, and this is this prefix that's on the intake form that Monica referred to. It's going to have a certain process, and a process is, we might rename this, Monica and I have been talking about this already, or we all have, sorry. The process is really, it's almost like a form as much as anything. It's a thing that can have different statuses, like your application's complete, or you need to wait, or it's being processed, or different things like that. Then there's a workshop type, and the workshop type defines the different stations that you may have on an actual day, on an event day, and that lets us capture where were you when you left the workshop? Were you in legal review? Were you in pre-screening, and so on? Then I have the day of the event, and I have the organizations that are participating in this event. So by default, my organization, Oakland Associates, has already been added to the event, but now I could add some other partner agencies, which would enable them to come and edit the workshop. And I can also add volunteers. There aren't many volunteers in the system at the moment, but I could add volunteers who are going to be allowed on the day to collect information, to do the data collection. I can put in a school, I can put in a location like the high school, and the number of people with appointments. This is just a number that is used to generate reports. So now I've created that, and I go back to the workshop admin, I can see it there in my list of things that I'm able to edit. On the right here, we have the ability to add new workshop types, which have the different stations. Like this this citizenship workshop has pre-screening, application assistance, document prep, and legal review as the 4 stations. The DACA workshop has legal review and application assistance. This is just demo data that's on my local computer, so obviously you would configure it to your need. And similarly for workshop types, we have the ones with the statuses, and so different statuses would be something like application complete would be a green status, ineligible for benefit would be a red status, and each status can be assigned one of 4 colors: red, yellow, green, or just gray, which just kind of means neutral, nothing. So yeah, so that's how I configure a workshop. So I'll take a quick pause there for workshop questions, and then the last thing to show you is just how to deal with users. Any questions on workshops? Is anybody there?
Hello. I'm still here.
I'm still here.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Okay, I just had that moment of panic, like I've been talking to myself for 10 minutes. Awesome. So last but not least, we'll do users. So again, I'm going to show this to you from the perspective of an agency member. So first, I click on the users tab and I have a list of all the users. Obviously, this could get very long, and so there is a little search feature here. So if I search for Cheryl, for example, it would just filter that list down to just the Cheryls, so I could more easily access people. So now I'm going to add a new volunteer, just that I want to add to my events. So their name is volunteer. And there's some fields here where we can collect extra information about them, like their home telephone number or their cell phone number or other notes like that. And we're not actually doing anything with that at the moment, but it might be useful. You know, we sort of left it there because it might be useful to be able to print out a list of the sort of contact information for volunteers for an event or something like that. So that's what all that is, but most of it isn't required information. So I hit save, and the contact has been created. That's what that green bar at the top says, but it says account not claimed. So what I can do is I can hit this send invitation button, and once I hit send invitation, then that person will get an email saying, you've been signed up to this system. Please hit this link to sort of confirm the sign up and get up and set your password, and then they can log in. There's another way that a user could log in. there's another way, sorry, that a user could get an account. And so where am I going to do a demo of that? I'm going to do that here. So let's say, hang on, that's not very, excuse me a minute. Let's say we're on a desktop, not a mobile phone. Okay, so we're on a desktop, and let's say I'm another one of my colleagues from Oakland Associates, and I've just told everybody to please go and get an account because I don't want to have to manually add everybody. So anybody can go to the home page and click register here. And once they do that, so you can enter your own information. So my email address is going to be Oakland2, Oakland, and I can set my own password. So I hit register, and I will have received an activation email, which just confirms that I really did. What am I trying to say? It confirms that I really did. Use a real email address. You know what I mean? So you can't just use other people's email address. So I go to that link that was in my email. Sorry, you saw a bit of command line trickery, but that just appears as an email. And you click on the link, and it says your account has been activated. You can now log in. So I'm going to log in to my new thing. Oh. Great. I've logged in, and I'm very disappointed because it says volunteer dashboard, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not a volunteer and I can't do anything useful here. And so the reason for this is, at the moment, the sort of registration system works very simply, and if people self-sign up, they just sort of automatically just get signed volunteer permissions. They just get the lowest level possible. So this is a way you could have all your volunteers sort of sign up. And now what I would need to do as the colleague of Mr. Oakland, I would come back into the users tab, I would search for them, and there they are. And then I would just simply assign them the permission agency member and give them my own organization. Now, I don't know whether you could see the drop down that I just showed, but in that drop down, I only have the ability to assign a user to my own agency, whereas the admin could actually assign a user to any agency. So I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to go back to I'm going to go back and log in again now as Oakland, and now I've been upgraded and I have the normal agency member permissions that you might expect. Obviously, we have full forgotten your password. You'll get an email resetting your password kind of facilities. And I think that is about all I wanted to show on users. So that's users, and that's basically the end of the demo for today. So any questions?